Hi, it's Paul from globaltradingsoftware.com, and this is a look at different chart types for day trading futures. So one of the things that comes to me a lot is what's the best settings on this instrument? What's the best settings on that instrument? What is the best chart type? So one of the things that we are really interested in when we're looking at chart types and the settings for those chart types is to smooth price action. And one of the biggest players, biggest instruments that has really volatile price action is NASDAQ. So I've chose this today and I've chose 4 different chart types. So all I would say is using traditional candlesticks on NASDAQ is just, it's bothersome, okay? It's really difficult to understand really the flow, and when I talk about flow, I'm talking about the direction of price action, because it can be very volatile, and it's very difficult to understand how to trade with normal candlesticks. So there's lots of different chart types out there. I'm using 4. One of the first things I want to talk about though is the Guardian Zone. So this is NinjaTrader. So at the moment, I'm just going to zoom out so I can show you some of the Guardian Zones here. So at the moment, I've got, if you see here on the left, 60, 30, 15, and I'm on a tick chart. I'm on the 860 tick chart. So there are higher time frames with the Guardian Zones, but in reality, you are day trading, if not even scalping, with this type of chart, the 860. Then we're going to go on to a volume chart, Nazaro, and then Uni Reno. But in reality, we only really need the 15 and the 30, okay, and then the current native time frame as well, whichever chart type you're on. The 60 is good to know, okay, so the 60 in pink up here starts around just over 15300, so that's good to know, but it's not important. So one of the things when we right click on the indicators with NinjaTrader and we look at Guardian Zones here, we can see that daily is disabled at the moment, and we can then also, we know if we get this breach of this 15 minute here where my cursor is onto the right, we can switch on the 60 just to figure out exactly where it is. So we can disable that as well. So on our chart, we're trying to clean it up. We're trying to understand the framework in which the price action is moving on higher time frames, so we get those confluences of support and resistance zones. So I'm just going to apply that, let that run. One of the things that's very important is the data series when using the Guardian Zones. Remember, the Guardian Zones are automated support and resistance zones on multiple time frames, but you need at least 2005 bars to look back. So your time frame, the load data is based on bars. I've put this at 5,000 on every single one of mine, okay, so 2005 is the minimum. Okay, so once we've done that and we've got that, the data set, if you like, then you're going to zoom out vertically, and then basically what we can see now, if we just zoom out a little bit here, with those confluences of zones, so the top, the 15, there's 2 15-minute zones here that are in confluence, so really strong resistance. We can see a confluence of 30 and 15 down the bottom here. So we're looking to trade between those zones. In reality, we can see here we get stuck between this confluence of 30s and 15s, and finally it breaks out, comes back to test, and goes up to this next one, okay? So very strong, and remember we're trading on a smaller time frame than that. Adding 5 minutes to your chart here will just be too messy, okay? We are trading on a chart set which is in equivalent to probably around 3 to 5 minutes anyway, okay? And that native 860 tick zone, if relevant, like these amber ones down here, will be plotted. The main thing is we've got the 15 and the 30 on there, and that's helping us make those trading decisions. So I'm going to go to yesterday's price action. Let me just do that again. Okay, and we are going to be looking basically from around about 10:30 in the morning, just zoom out a little bit, to around the close. Okay, One of the reasons why I've chosen 10:30 is because when we got the open around about 9:30 at this point, we're in the middle of those two zones. So we've got a confluence of 15 minutes at the top, and we've got a confluence of 15 and 30 minutes at the bottom. So our chart is framed. So after the open, we come to test this confluence of 15-minute zones, and it starts to come down. This is very, very important. We then come back to test that confluence right where those two overlap. Very strong, start to come down again. So what I'm using in this particular instance is our SlingShot, because the new SlingShot indicator is phenomenal. I'm not just saying that, we've got lots of users in the WhatsApp group, in the Teams group, that are using it and doing extremely well with it. And it works when you get a smooth type of chart type. So I'm going to show the difference between chart types with this particular strategy, trading between these confluences of higher time frame support and resistance zones from yesterday. Okay, so in reality yesterday on this tick chart, 860 tick, we had a type 3 buy at this point here, but we don't go long into that resistance, we don't take that trade. Then we get a type 1 sell with lots of fresh air, lots of room to the next support zone, which is a confluence of 30 and 15 minutes together, so really strong support. So there is literally one trade for yesterday on this chart set. 252 ticks, we take the sell order. As soon as it tips the top of that zone, we take our profit. There is a trailing stop at here, this red trailing stop for those that want to use the trailing stop. But in reality, if we hit one of those big confluence zones, it's something we shouldn't ignore and we should take our profit. Okay, so that profit is around about $3,000 for one trade for the day. Probably a reasonably good amount of profit for most NASDAQ traders. But let's go a little further now. Let's go on to a volume chart. So a volume chart is probably smoother. You've got to get the right settings. So I know that 512 volume is a really good setting because lots of our SlingShot users actually use that setting for the SlingShot. This gives us more trading opportunities. As you can see, a total of 321 ticks here. So we've gone from a $3,000 trading day to a $4,000 trading day. Slightly smaller trades, but we actually managed to catch one that comes off that confluence of 15-minute zones here, that type 1 sell, and we get a nice 81 tick move. We get a little 29 tick move here, lots of fresh air down to that support zone where that 30 overlaps the 15, and also here you can see this is a 512 volume support zone as well there, and we can see one forming at the top just inside the 15 as well. So then we get that big move down, like most chart sets that we're going to talk about. This big move around about just after 1 p.m. Was the one that all the SlingShots on all 4 different chart sets actually got that move to varying degrees. Some got it earlier, some got it later. This one was 211 ticks. You'll notice on some of the others it's a little higher. But in reality, we got 3 trading opportunities on this particular chart set. So that for me is smoothing things out a little bit more than a tick chart. Using that SlingShot indicator, trading between these confluence of support and resistance zones, we get 321 ticks, just over $4,000 profit. Now let's move to Nazaro, and this has been a question from a couple of people on email now that they use Nazaro. Some of the settings they sent me were a little bit off, so this is the smoothest I could find on Nazaro for NASDAQ during the trading session. And this is a 28. So Nazaro settings, there's 2. So if I go to data series, brick size is 20, trend threshold is 8. This is the smoothest I could find for that particular. I don't use this, but as you can see, 408 ticks on this, so there was more trading opportunities once you find the right settings for this. So again, we had that test of that confluence of 15-minute zones where they're overlapping there. We got that early type 1 sell like we did with the volume, but then that bigger sell, because we smoothed it out even more with Nazaro from volume, was just one trade of 234 ticks. In reality, when we look back, we had 29 and 211. So, you know, add them together around about the same sort of move, but it smoothed them out. And then when we tipped this confluence of support of not just the 15 and the 30 overlapping, but now we've got that Nazaro native time. So if I just take the 30 and the 15 off here a second, you can see here we've started to form what we call the native time frame, the time frame that you're trading off. So I'll just switch those back on again. So then we get along what we call a reversal here, the type 3 buy in the SlingShot. That was 143 ticks. So this was a $5,000 day with Nazaro. So you can see I'm building up here and getting smoother chart sets using this SlingShot indicator, trading between those important guardian zones, those higher time frame support and resistance zones. Then next we get a $6,000 trading day, so double than what we did on a tick chart. This is Uni Reno, okay? So this is the smoothest chart set. So I use this a lot on I don't trade NASDAQ personally, but I trade oil and copper. But lots of our users will use Uni Reno on this and the roller coaster. So on the Uni Reno settings, I'm going to data series. Again, notice we've got 5,000 bars on there, so we can get some really accurate multiple time frame support and resistance zones from the guardian zones. Uni Reno settings for this is a lot higher than we would say on oil, which is 135. We can see here we've actually times everything by 4 here. 4, 12, 20 is the settings for NASDAQ. One of the settings that we use. We can all use, sometimes we use 4, 20, 10 as well. 4, 20, 40. But 4, 12, 20 is a very, very smooth chart, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for more trading opportunities. So again, the support and resistance zones are the same no matter what chart set, because they're looking up on higher time frames. So we've got that confluence of 15-minute zones, we've got that confluence of 30 and 15. We're also on this Uni Reno, we've got these smaller ones tying in. But again, we test that overlap, that confluence of 15-minute zones at this point here. We don't take that buy. Why? We're not going to go along into resistance. We need fresh air. And that's what the guardian zone's for. To show you where that fresh air is to trade into. So first trade coming down from there, we've got a type 1 sell. We actually get 2. 68 ticks. We then pull back, and then we get another 20 tick trade. Then we get a 252 tick trade. This actually gets us in slightly earlier than any other. It's very smooth, takes us all the way down to the bottom. Then we get a 50 tick long here. Again, we didn't get that opportunity. We got one long opportunity with Nazaro. We didn't get any with the others. So all of a sudden now we can see we're getting smoother because we're getting more trading opportunities with this SlingShot strategy. We get a 50 tick long, we get a 20 tick short, we get eventually with this 2-star buy here gives us 20 ticks. It's a slow mover, but it's still okay. And then we get a 56 tick long here. Look then how we test that zone again and start to come back down. So this is the overnight, if you like. Again, we get a little sort of 20 tick move here. The buy, we don't buy. Why? Because we're going into resistance. And then we get these type 1 sells again, taking out the trailing stop on the overnight session. The main thing is this is starting to print some native zones that we should be aware of, but the more important zones with the guardian zones here are the higher time frames, the 15 and the 30. Again, we're not really interested in the 5 because it will clog up the chart, and we need to understand where those higher time frame confluences are, because that's where we will bounce off, and that's where we've got fresh air too. So again, we've gone from tick, volume, Nazaro, now Uni Reno. And I would say it's pretty obvious which is the smoothest chart type. It just takes a little bit of practice. What I'm going to do is put some links down below for the SlingShot. The Guardian zones are in there as well. Just so you can check out those trading softwares and indicators if you need to trade a little bit more. But also what I'm going to do is put a link in so you can get the Uni Reno. If you haven't got the Uni Reno chart type, we can get that for you as well, because it's a very, very fluid and smooth type of chart type. It takes a little bit of practice depending on the instrument that you are trading, but hopefully you've seen the progression. Yes, tick charts do smooth out. Volume, smooth out a little bit more. Nazaro, very good charts. It was a $5,000 trading day yesterday using the SlingShot. Uni Reno just pips them all. This was over a $6,000 trading day with the SlingShot here, trading between those zones and looking for that fresh air. And again, it's about understanding where we are within that. So again, you see the type 1 buy that comes out of this zone here. It does falter, it doesn't fail, it takes a little bit of profit, then we get another type 1 buy, and that one really runs. We've got fresh air to run too. We just go back a little bit further. You see the shorts coming down from this confluence of 30 and 15 are really strong. The longs that have got fresh air are strong. We don't take the longs going into resistance, okay? Really, really strong. So hopefully that helps. 4 different chart types on NASDAQ, just showing you how we can smooth out that price action. And in particular, in this case, I've just used the SlingShot trading indicator and strategy to show you how that smooth progresses from tick, volume, Nazaro, Uni Reno. Thank you.